Okay, if we have this if statement here, right? This is a super simple one. All it can handle is one condition going one way or another. Okay, but in reality, as you guys know, there's kind of like BMI, and then there's ranges. It must be like 4 or 5 or something like that. They're like, 1 to 10, probably, dead. 11 to 20, really underway. You get the idea, right? So it's more than just, there's a magic number, and if you're above or below, you're this or that. So how do we get our if statement to actually do that, to have a more complicated statement? And the way you do it, the simplest way, is to what we call nest the statements in. They're called nested statements. Okay, so here's the idea. Let's start this one again. Okay, let's say, look, this is the cell we're interested in. F2, it's the one which classifies you and says you're this kind of person, right? We do need an if statement. Let's say, okay, let's go above 25 again, just for the sake of simplicity. So if the BMI is greater than 25, okay, let's say, all right, I think you need to lose a bit of weight, so let's call that overweight. Okay, there it is. Now, so far the same, okay? But where it starts to change is the next bit, okay? So the third part is, well, what happens if this condition is not met, okay? So what I'm going to do is, rather than just have one outcome, namely underweight, okay, I'm going to have another pair of outcomes, okay? I want it to branch off again, okay? So to make it branch off, I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did in the first place. This is how I made things branch off, by using an if statement. So I'll just put another if statement and nestle it inside the other one. Okay, that's why they're called nested statements. So I'm going to say, after this comma, I'm going to say if all over again. Okay. So now let's go with this. Okay, let's say if you're between 1 and 10, right, you shouldn't be alive right now. So let's consider if the BMI is less than 10. The BMI is less than 10. Okay. Now what should I say? Suppose the BMI was something like, say, 5. Okay. Well, we want to say, well, dude, how are you even filling this form out? Okay. So that's my outcome if this is true. Is that all right? Okay. If it's not true, if it's not less than 10, I already know that it's got to be less than 25, right? So it's greater than 10, less than 25, right? Because this one wasn't met, and neither was this. Okay, so now I've got this range. I'm 10 to 25 now. Okay, does that make sense? That's how I got a third option. So I'll say normal, because you're either overweight, normal, or dead. That's the way things are. Okay, right. So now that I've finished this if statement, which is on its own, I have to finish the big if statement, which started over here. So I end it with another parenthesis. Okay. So let's just march through this and test it out, okay? Suppose my BMI came out at 30, right? So what happens? If BMI is greater than 25, what happens? It's 30, so it checks out. So this is what happens. That's what gets displayed, okay? Now let's try again. Suppose the BMI is 20, okay? So I come over here. Is it greater than 25? No. So I skip this part, because this is the value if it's true. And now I come to this, right? So then I start all over again. I'm 20, right? Is that value less than 10? No. So it skips this, goes there. So I'm normal. Lastly, if I've got a BMI of 5, which I almost look like I do, I get to here, it's false, so I skip this, okay? I get to here, and it's true, because 5 is less than 10. So it says that, unfortunately, it's got bad news for me, okay? Do you see how it's taking one at a time? Now, what if we wanted more than 3? What if we wanted 4? Well, I guess you could do it again. But in reality, this is about as complicated as it gets. Because if as a marker, right, as an exam setter, rather, I wanted to test your ability to understand the way these statements work, I don't gain anything about seeing your understanding of spreadsheets by putting another one in. Because it's just the same thing all over again, just longer and more tiresome, okay? So all the logic and the things that I'm testing for are visible here. And that's how you would get a third option, if that makes sense. Okay?